Hi guys, in this video we are going to be talking about multiplying decimals. So yesterday you did adding and subtracting, and today we're going to be multiplying. So make sure you have this split screen with your PowerPoint so that way you can fill it in as you go. So the first step, let me get the right color pen real quick. The first step is to line the decimals on the right. You do not need to line up the decimals. For adding and subtracting, you must line up the decimals. Multiplying and dividing, you do not have to. Then start at the right and multiply each digit in the top number by each digit in the bottom number. Just like whole number multiplication. So just like you've always done, you are going to multiply and then you are going to add the products, just like regular multiplication. Then you're going to move the decimal to the left, the sum of the decimal places in both factors. So I'll show you that in a second, but you are going to count how many places are behind the decimal and then move it that number of times to the left. So looking at this first problem, I'm going to stack it up, and again, we're lining it up on the right. You don't have to line up the decimal point. And again, you could put either one on top. I'm putting this one just because that 0 had a little extra place value, but you don't have to. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 4 is 24. Plus my good friend Carrie, don't forget her, is 25. And then I always do what's called tic-tac-toe. I tick any carries, I tack the first place value, and I put the 0 down. Okay? And then 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 4 plus 1 gives me 29. And then add them together. 2, 9, 1 and carry, 3. And then notice how many places are behind the decimal. 1, 2. So there's 2 places here. There's 1 place here. So that is going to be a total of 3 places in the answer. So we start from the back. 2, 3. We move our decimal 3 places. 3 and 192 thousandths is my answer. Remember, it's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay? We moved our decimal to the over 3 times because there were 3 places behind the decimal. So when there is parentheses, that also means to multiply. So if you see numbers like this, that means to multiply. So we're going to go ahead and write it. And this one happens to have the decimal lined up, and that's great. Again, it doesn't have to, but in this situation it did. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Again, tic-tac-toe, tic-tac-toe. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 5, 45 again, plus 4 is 49. We're going to add again. So let's talk about how many places are behind the decimal. 1 here, 1 here. So there's going to be a total of 2 in our answer. 1, 2. So the answer is 51 and 15 hundredths. If you want to circle your answer at the end, it just helps us to be able to see that a little bit. So remember we talked about the multiplication symbol. The X means multiply. The parentheses means multiply. Also, this dot means multiply. So you will see all of these versions. So make sure you know that they're all multiplication. So here we go for this one. 1 and 8 hundredths times 6. Again, remember we're lining it up to the right. You don't have to line up the decimals. 8 times 6, 48. 6 times 0 is 0, plus 4. Don't forget your friend Carrie. 6 times 1 is 6. There are 2 places behind the decimal. Remember, the decimal and the whole number is at the end, so there are 0 places here, so the total is going to have 2. So we're going to slide our decimal over twice. It is going to be 6 and 48 hundredths. So here we go. We're going to do a few word problems. Julie runs 12 4/10 laps around the park. If each lap is 7/10 of a mile, how far did Julie run? So this one is multiplication. So she runs this far, and each of them are 7/10 of a mile. So we are going to multiply. So 12 4/10 times 0 7/10. 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Don't forget to carry. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. There are 2 places behind the decimal. You could multiply everything times 0 if you wanted, but you don't have to. So slide your decimal over twice. So our answer is 8 68/100. Okay, always with your word problems, you've got to have your units. Sometimes I call them toenails just for people to help them remember. Don't forget your toenails. Don't forget your units. How far did she run? She ran, so it's going to be 8 68/100 miles. MI is the abbreviation for miles. You can write the word or MI. Okay, let's look at the next one. A box of Oreo costs $2.27. How much will it cost to buy 6 boxes? Okay, so I want you to go ahead and set it up and think about how you would solve this problem. Okay, so we are going to multiply 2 27/100 or 27 cents times the 6 boxes. 7 times 6. Again, if you don't remember your 7s or your 6s, okay, list them out. 6, 12. Write out all your multiples. Figure it out. Get to that right answer. Don't use a calculator. You've got to be able to do this without a calculator. So list out your multiples, okay, if you get stuck. But it is 42. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 4 is 16. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 1 is 13. There are 2 places behind the decimal, so we're going to slide it over twice, and that gives us a total of $13.62. Your dollar sign needs to go at the beginning. For money, the dollar sign is at the front, as well as that's your units. That's your toenails. That's your units for that. So that's good enough. You could put the word dollars behind it, but you're good with just putting the dollar sign as well. It costs 49 cents per pound of bananas. How much does it cost you to buy 3.5 pounds of bananas? Round to the nearest cent. And we've talked about rounding, so make sure you remember that. Okay? So it is 0 and 49 cents for 3.5 pounds. 9 times 5 is 45. 5 times 4. Remember, you multiply up first and then across. Okay, so then 5 times 4 is 20 plus 4 is 24. 5 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. So this one has a few ticks. So you need to cross both of those off. The 5, cross that out, and then the 0. And then 3 times 9 is 27, so you don't get confused with your carries. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 is 14. 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is 1. 5, 6, 7. The 1. There are 3 places behind the decimal. 2 here and 1 here. So there's going to be 3 in your answer. So you're going to slide your decimal over 3 places. 1.715. Remember, it's nearest cent. Okay, so cent is the 1. We're going to look at the 5, and it's 5 or more. Raise the score, so it's going to tell me to raise it up. $1.72. Don't forget your dollar sign. So what I want you to do is go ahead and do the practice, starting on slide 7 all the way to slide 11. So those are all word problems. So you either need a dollar sign or some sort of unit to represent that situation. Make sure you're showing all of your work, showing me your carries. I like to do the numbers next to it for how many places, but you don't have to. But again, make sure you move that decimal over however many times you need to, and jump back in the Teams call if you have any questions. Thanks.